Welcome to the first episode of Nektar Wine Bar's Drinking Buddies. We are two pieces of the management team here at Nektar. My name is Justin. This is Matt. We designed these YouTube videos for partly educational purpose. We teach our staff this way, but also this is kind of stuff that we talk about all the time during our shifts, after the shift with a nice drink of our choice. We designed this to kind of help you guys figure out the world of wine, whiskey, and beer without being intimidated. So it's kind of like a more relaxed fit type educational video. So first thing we're going to be talking about is how to taste wine. So this is the funnest part of learning about wine because you get to drink, obviously. But it's the most nuanced and shadowy, sometimes can be like, pretty intimidating. People are doing blind tastings and throwing out all these adjectives and stuff. So it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. But we break it down to a simple 4-step method for everybody that works here. So it makes it nice and easy to manage. And it's not real difficult. It's kind of fun.
I think that's important to keep in mind is that, even when you're trying to get pretty educational and nerdy about it, at the end of the day, it's supposed to be a fun experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to learn a lot while you're doing it.
Right. So basically, we break it down to a 4-step process. I recommend that everybody takes their first 5 to 10 minutes with a new glass of wine to taste it properly, think about it, analyze it, and then after that, just enjoy the wine. You don't have to think about it the whole time. Also, if you sit with a glass of wine for more than 15 minutes, it's pretty impressive without drinking it. So, 4 steps. First step is going to be look at it. The second step is going to be smell it. Third step is going to be actually tasting it. The fourth step is going to be thinking about it. So, I'm just going to get right into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is looking at the wine, right? So, Matt, tell us a little bit about what we're looking for in a wine.
So what's cool about breaking this down in that 4-step process is before you even get to smelling and tasting a wine, you can decipher a lot of information about the wine just by visuals alone. Where that usually starts with us is the color of the wine. Now, a really handy tip for that is you're going to want to have some kind of white sheet of paper to hold the wine against, because when you're in a setting like this, where it's darker or it's hard to get a good look at the wine, that's going to help give you like real clear visuals of what's going on there.
Right.
So, you hold it up, you're going to see all kinds of variations of color in a red wine, from, light, pale salmon colors to darker ruby colors to brownish, orangey, rusty colors.
Yeah.
Whole spectrum. And we're going to have a graphic up for that as well.
Yeah, so check out the graphic. I mean, don't get too wrapped up in the actual name of the color and the hue. Different people see different hues, so it's going to change the way you describe it. But just the general concept of really light to really dark, or pale yellow to deep gold for white wine in that case.
And
so,
that's what you would consider the color concentration, right? Is like those kind of factors in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Somewhere around the middle. If you tilt the glass, it's going to turn into like an oval. You want to look directly in the middle there. That's going to be your main color concentration. So when you're talking about wine.
It's actually a good transition into one of the next parts of visualizing the wine is the rim variation. So on the outside of that oval he's talking about, on a lot of wines, you're going to see a pretty big difference in color in the middle of that oval when you're holding the wine up and the outer edge of that oval. It's kind of hard to see from this angle. This isn't a wine that has a lot of rim variation, but you're going to see that especially on wines that have a lot of age to them, age in like a barrel. Or even age in the bottle.
Right.
The more time it spends aging, you're going to see lighter colors on the edge and darker colors in the middle. So the more variation you're seeing, that's going to be a clue it's an older wine. So without even smelling it or tasting it, we're already starting to figure out some things about this wine. After you've done some looking at the color concentration and rim variation, you're probably already familiar with this concept, is looking at what's considered like the legs of the wine. You'll see some people start twirling the glass, looking up at it, and what you're looking for when you're doing this is after the wine settles down again, the drips or tears or sheeting sticking to the edges of the glass, kind of falling down. You're going to see these big clump drops, and typically speaking, the larger and slower the tears are, that's going to mean it's a more fuller bodied wine. You're going to have probably a higher sugar concentration, more alcohol. If it's a lighter bodied wine, which is usually less sugar and less alcohol content, it's going to fall to the bottom of the glass pretty quickly. Right. So the slower it's moving, again, we already know something about the body of the wine, and we haven't even gotten to tasting it yet.
Yeah, exactly. And, this kind of helps you identify wine. So if you're doing something advanced like blind tasting type stuff, this is really going to help you out. But in general, the way we teach it is just to help you get familiar with wine and learn about new ones. Because, you know, when I first started wine, there's a million different kinds of wines, different regions, different types. It's hard to kind of wrap your brain around. But really, the best way to learn is to try more wine. Mm-hmm. So if you take these couple steps, you know, just by looking at it, you can tell 3 things that are going to give you an idea of what the wine's going to drink like and what it's compared to, and, you know, when you try other stuff too.
Yeah, and your very first time doing this, you know, let's take like the legs part, for example. If it's your very first time analyzing wine in that way, you're not going to have a large frame of reference for like what constitutes slow legs versus fast legs.
Yeah, right.
And you're going to hear us repeat that a lot throughout these videos. It's an experience thing. The more you do it, the more frame of reference you're going to have for knowing, okay, these are slow legs, these are fast legs. That wine has no rim variation. This wine has a lot of rim variation.
Right, exactly.
The more you keep doing it, the more you keep getting better at it.
Yeah, that's the fun part too.
Yeah.
The only way to learn is drink more. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the second step, which is going to be actually smelling the wine. So this is going to be like the example that everyone has seen before. It's what leads to those funny menu descriptors of some strange tasting notes that you have in there, like pencil shavings or, you know, wet mud or something like that. You know, this can seem a little pretentious when you see somebody, you know, sitting at the bar smelling their glass of wine for 5 minutes, but in reality, smell is one of the strongest senses that we have, and also one of the strongest to memory as well. So smelling a wine really helps you lock in that vocabulary and how to talk about a wine and what a wine actually tastes like too. So it's a huge part of your actual taste buds.
Yeah, I think some people argue that, you know, once you get really good at smelling wine, you can almost decipher more through smell than through taste because of how powerful your nose is compared to your taste buds.
For sure, for sure. And the important thing with this too is to, you know, approach this in a non-judgmental way for yourself. You know, don't put too much pressure on it. Don't make it a big thing. I usually say kind of fly by the seat of your pants. First thing that comes to your mind is what you're going to talk about. In general, when I'm smelling a wine, I try to force myself to pick out 3 and 3 is what I call it. So first thing you're going to smell are fruits. So fruits, I pick 3 fruits and I try to attach 3 adjectives to them. So if I'm smelling a wine, for instance, this wine smells like raspberry, I try to tack on an adjective. So what kind of raspberry is it? Is it fresh raspberry? Is it raspberry jam? Is it overripe raspberry? So this kind of helps you, you know, categorize these smells in a different way to, again, just lock them into your brain. Really important though, before you actually start smelling, what you want to do is swirl the wine. So you're going to see people doing this and you're like, yeah, I don't need to do that. You actually do. So it's a pretty scientific thing without getting too nerdy. What's happening is oxygen is going into the wine and it's unlocking all the aromas inside the wine. So if you don't swirl it, it's not going to smell the same as if you were to let some oxygen get to it. And the wine is also going to develop as it sits in the glass. So when you open a bottle of wine, it's going to change between 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour. And that's going to really develop the wine and, you know, change it up on you. So
that's part of the experience too, is, you know, when you're smelling and tasting a wine, it doesn't have to be one thing every time you visit the glass.
Yeah.
The fact that it changes over time and it's almost like an evolving concept over time, that's part of the experience too.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd say with a lot of like quality wines, like a lot of nuance and variety to them, you almost want or expect to find different things every time you visit the glass.
For sure. Yeah, exactly. So if you go by the general 3 and 3, it's going to develop as you finish tasting the wine. So back to the main concept, 3 fruits with 3 adjectives, right? After you do that, then I would go back to the wine glass, continuously swirling it, and try to pick out 3 non-fruits. So this can be anything from soil to stone to wet pavement, all types of stuff. Herbs are another great one. Any type of other food.
Grassy notes, vegetal notes.
Yeah.
Anything that's not a fruit.
Absolutely. And do the same thing. Apply an adjective to each one of those. So by the end of that smelling, you know, you should have 3 fruits and 3 non-fruits there lined up for you to check out. And that should be, you know, what's coming from the wine on your first impression. As far as after that, the next 2 steps we're going to break into another video just so that these are small and digestible pieces. So the next 2 steps are going to be actually drinking the wine and what you're looking for while you're tasting it. And then, yeah, right, finally. And then thinking about the wine after you're done tasting. So tune in for the next video and we'll see you guys soon.